Hey, good morning, YouTube. Happy Friday. I hope everyone is having a good day. We're rainy where I'm at, so I'm hoping that it dies down. I have some errands to run over my lunch break, so fingers crossed. I just wanted to hop back on and to talk about Unchosen on Netflix. So I'm a big fan of The Handmaid's Tale and The Testament on Hulu, so the algorithms sent me this way. So I really liked, so far, I really like Rosie. She seems like who's the main character. She is coming into her awakening and realizing that something's not right in the way that she has been taught or told to live. This isn't what she wants. So I'm interested to see what we get at the end. It begins with them showing the fellowship, which is the group's name, and they live amongst each other off the grid, not completely off the grid. So they have automobiles and they have computer use. It's very limited, but they do have access to technological advances. Um, so they're having a fellowship, and then on their way to, it appears to be a church service, Rosie notices that her daughter's missing, and Adam, her husband, tells her, "Don't worry about it, it's fine. I'm sure she's with someone." And Rosie decides to go against what her husband says. And when she runs to the woods, she finds a stranger who actually saves their daughter. And then Isaac, Adam's brother, shows up in the scene and he has a cell phone. So that's a major no no. So then we get to a conversation between Adam and Isaac, and Adam is telling him that he needs to change his ways, he needs to leave the secular things behind and just get right with God. And we think that's the end of that. And Adam, her husband, just for a backstory, is a high ranking member of the fellowship, and he is trying to climb his way up the ladder. So, any type of scandal or anything that would cause gossip, he does not like, and he tries to nip in the bud. He's very controlling. It's almost terrifying, I feel like, watching him control Rosie, because his control isn't even in the fact that he yells and he screams. It's just very, what's the word? You just see him and you know that what he says goes, and if there isn't, there's going to be serious consequences. So then we get into episode 2. And again, Adam, Rosie's husband's need to climb up the social ladder or up the ranks. He does the ultimate thing. He betrays his brother and tells Mr. Phillips, their group's leader, that Isaac has a phone. And Isaac, his brother, his wife is currently pregnant with their 4th child, due any day. She ends up going into labor. So simultaneously, while Isaac's wife is giving birth, Isaac is being punished and being instructed by Mr. Phillips and the group of men within the whole sect that he needs to change his ways and turn from all these secular things, and that's poisoning his life and his mind and all those things. So they get through the punishment, and his wife has a baby, and he ultimately decides to leave the cult. So he leaves his wife who just had a child. And I have conflicting feelings about what happens with this storyline. And I don't know if we'll get any closure towards the end, but he leaves and he ultimately ends up with the woman that he's been communicating with in the cell phone. We don't know like how long they've been in a relationship or anything like that, but it's very aware, or they make us very aware within episode 2 that he's moved on, and he says he loves his kids and he wants a relationship. And Isaac does eventually try to come back, and he tries to convince Rosie to give his son a letter, which, let's backtrack, Rosie's already in trouble enough to begin with, because the handsome stranger in the woods approaches Rosie again and tells her, and his name is Sam, and Sam has a very troubled past. He was incarcerated and he is on the run because of a physical altercation that resulted in someone's death. And that's what he was originally in prison for, too. So they give you a little bit, but I feel like there's more to this altercation that has him on the run and hiding within the fellowship. But he approaches Rosie and says he's hurt, and she helps him. And then he says he needs shelter for the night. So she lets him stay in his chicken coop. So she's risking it all by helping the stranger. But you can tell that she's obviously attracted to him from the beginning, even in the woods, like you can tell. And he ends up, she thinks he's gone, but he's not. And he asks for a ride back to the sect when she drops Isaac off to help him escape to be with the woman that he says he's in love with now. So Isaac's wife finds out, apologies, that Rosie helped Isaac leave. And then Rosie is now punished and in isolation, and she has to help Isaac's wife with any needs that she has. And again, no questions, no ifs, ands, buts about it. And she finally, Isaac's wife, realizes she has 4 kids. She needs to figure out what she's going to do. They have a home and they have 4 mouths to feed. So she goes to, of course, the group's leader, Mr. Phillips, and she discuss what's going to happen. And they're having a private meeting. And while they're having the private meeting, Rosie is holding the baby and Miss Phillips and her discussing what's going on. And then suddenly you see Isaac's wife leave the meeting with Mr. Phillips, and she's obviously upset and crying. And they end up leaving. And then Miss Phillips, or Isaac's wife, realizes she forgot something in the office, and she has Rosie go back and fetch it. When Rosie goes back into the office, she hears Mr. Phillips and Mrs. Phillips having quite the argument. And you overhear Miss Phillips saying, she left here more upset than when she came. What happened? What did you do? Why can't you keep your hands to yourself? And he ends up assaulting his wife. And Rosie ends up trying to break it up, and she gets hit while trying to break up the altercation. So we're starting to get more characters and personality traits and all the ins and outs and what's going on behind the scenes within the cast. And Mr. Phillips obviously takes advantage of his role as the group's leader. So we don't know what happened in the room, but we know something inappropriate has gone on. So then fast forward to later that day, Adam comes home and he finds out that Isaac tried to get Rosie to give the letter to the son, and he sees them on camera. And Rosie explains to him, she's like, I didn't give him the letter and I asked him to leave. But he does not hear that because in his sense, or his need for a sense of control, he doesn't want to hear it. Your wife is talking to a man in their group, and that is completely unacceptable. So he proceeds to sexually assault Rosie. And it's disturbing because this isn't their first instance. Let me rewind, because the first episode he is discussing with her. If you don't want to tonight, you don't have to. But he ends up getting what he wants. If I can say, if that, then that doesn't even feel like the right way to say it. So again, we're getting a lot of the character traits and everything that's going on. Well, when they drive back, after dropping Isaac off, Sam and Rosie are caught in the car together. And I was so scared. I'm like, uh-oh, she's finna get it. This is like going to be the ultimate punishment. I don't know what's going to happen, what she's going to do. Is she going to be okay? But they end up coming up with a lie that she caught him breaking into the car. And the group actually starts to help Sam. So he starts working at their construction site, and he begins to help Adam with daily chores and daily tasks. And one day while he's helping him, his brother Isaac comes to get the last of his tools, and they have a physical altercation. And Sam comes to Adam's rescue and helps break it up. So you see in the character development that there's going to be some form of relationship or friendship that's formed between Sam, the mysterious stranger, and Adam, the, I guess would say, default second group leader. So that's where we're at. I'm on episode 3, or I finished episode 3 last night. I'm going in episode 4. So far, so good. No negative critiques. Some of the scenes are difficult to watch just because to see a woman being treated this way and just internalizing some of that struggle, it's like a little squeamish or awkward to watch, but it's a good story. So I'll be back with the rest of the series because it's 6 episodes, so I probably will complete them. But again, happy Friday, and I hope you all have a good weekend. Stay safe. Bye.